What's good? What's good? Welcome back to another episode. We're talking about anger. We're talking about dancing and engaging with anger. Um, Continuing from the last episode, which started us off talking about anger, talking about my relationship with anger. I just want to take a quick moment to remind us why we're having this conversation. We are talking about reality. We're talking about the self. We're talking about the genuine self. We're talking about how we know and can discern between being our genuine selves and being something else. And the truth is, if we're serious about that question, you can't ignore anger. You can't ignore anger. And you have to recognize that anger, if it shows up, it's a part of the self. Now, this is something that I struggled with. This is why I'm doing this episode. This is why I'm doing this episode at this time. This is why I've talked about so many different things, so many concepts about love and about my politics and all this stuff. And I'm here arriving at anger because I need to, because it is part of my path. How interesting that I, at this point in my life, recognize that I want to have a better relationship with anger, for instance. That this is what's on my path. For other people, it could be the flip. Some other people might have a much more comfortable relationship with their anger. They might embrace anger and express anger much more frequently. And for them, their next evolution, their growth into, shall we say, the God consciousness, their own best awareness, their best self, will be to embrace something else. It could be that it will be to embrace patience, to embrace calm, to embrace silence, care, consideration, to embrace like a patience, where a space before anger arrives, to figure that out and to incorporate that. But for me, I'll tell you what, as a kid, growing up in Brooklyn, I saw expressions of anger coming from different places, particularly from the young or the adult men in my life. And, you know, I came to the conclusion that this was something that I wanted to avoid. I developed a lot of mechanisms to feel safe and to keep a sense of safety. I developed a sense of humor. I developed an ability to diffuse situations. You know, the reason I developed these things is because I was around men that I saw like would just flippantly go off the handle. One thing you'll know about me, if someone knows me for not even a long time, but people who've known me know me. Like they know I don't fly off the handle. I'm not. I'm pretty consistent. I'm pretty calm. I don't crash out. I don't idolize or glamorize crashing out. Um, when I saw times growing up, man, like just simple stuff at a party, a disagreement at a party, a disagreement over a basketball game could explode into something huge, something way bigger than what made sense to me. I remember multiple times being a kid, like, what the fuck is going on? Why? Why did that happen? Why did that blow up? And the lesson I learned is that I don't want to contribute to that. I don't want to be that. I created a contrasting identity and I leaned into that contrasting identity and it's made me who I am. I'm proud of that. But it's also not fully healthy because it wasn't a healthy relationship. There were times when, I mean, you're looking at someone who's pushed through quite a bit of this, and grown to a fuller self, which is what you're seeing in front of you. But I just remember points in my life where I was like, oh shit, I'm not going to be that. No, I'm not going to be that. I remember, like I don't chew with my mouth open. You won't catch me with the chew, but I remember, I think it was like the second grade, this kid in class, Daniel, was chewing with his mouth open. We were eating something, I don't know, at lunch, and he's just chomping and there's food everywhere. And he just didn't care. And he's talking to me and spitting. And I thought that was so disgusting. Very early on, I said, that's not gonna be me. I'm not gonna chew with my mouth open. And I think if you think about it, if you could really think about it, there are times like these, there's little like pivotal moments where you created a contrast and you were made aware of something and you said, oh, I'm either I'm not going to be that or I'm going to be that. I'm either inspired to take that up. I have several instances of that. I've got lots of stories of that too. I'm inspired to be more like that, or it's like, nah, I'm not going to be like that at all. And so for me, the expressions of anger produced a big contrast for me, produced a big sort of requirement that I move differently and that I develop these, like I said, ability to diffuse situations and a calm and a kindness. I never liked being in those rooms where like everybody's just screaming, like all the dudes are screaming at each other, getting big, getting louder. People are like keeps rising, keeps the voices get louder, and people are flexing, and who knows where that goes. And to me, it's like I was in those rooms quite a lot, either with sports or with other things. But like I never wanted to contribute to that. Like if anything, I would just sit back. I'd be really observant. Like I get quieter and just watch, as everybody seems to be performing a kind of angry, because that's what it was to me. It felt like a performance. Like even if I'm angry, even if something upsets me, I don't have to react in a very particular way. I know that now. And I guess I knew that then. But I think what happens is, and I've learned this through therapy, is that, you have language and the language constricts your understanding. So if I say angry as a younger person, that might have incorporated a whole bunch of stuff, or it was I dragged in this performance thing, this performance of getting loud and screaming and cursing and threatening violence. When anger can be expressed a whole bunch of myriad other ways, there's a whole range of expression. And instead of having to reject the whole thing, there's such a thing as a moderate expression of anger. There is such a thing as an adequate and appropriate expression of anger. And my path in this point, my wholeness comes from knowing that I'm mature enough and I'm capable of holding that. I don't have to keep up a facade where anger just isn't a part of it, you know? Apart from the childhood stuff, like I said, as an adult professional, someone who grew up I'm sorry, not grew up, but my first job was Capitol Hill, going through the corporate world, and then in journalism at CNN, there's no value in anger. Anger as an emotion seemed completely counterproductive. And in fact, as a Black man, it seemed like, if anything, some of this flying off the handle stuff is presumed, and it's my work to demonstrate safety. I have to actually act in such a way that ensures that everybody knows I'm not angry, even if I'm fucking angry. The truth is, I don't really get angry a lot, though. The truth is, I don't really get angry a lot. And the reason is, I've just always, well, I can just speak for myself now. I don't get angry a lot now because I have the capacity to see wider stories. So like I grew up with my stepdad used to get really angry while driving. There was no way we were driving any decent distance without, somebody would cut you off or something would happen or the light would change or something going on the road. And he would just start screaming and he'd be pissed off and he's trying to speed up in order to catch the person, to give them the finger. And that just seemed crazy to me, And my mom, I could see my mom would be a little uncomfortable, but he'd be serious and he's going until he can give the guy the finger and have it confirmed to see the guy look at him, say like he's angry. And the guy can't hear a single thing he's saying. The windows are all up, both cars. He's screaming. The only people who can hear these angry shouts are me and my brothers, my mom, the people in the car, and in the car with them. Um, and again, it was just a bit of contrast for me. Like that's crazy. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that. Um, so why don't I get angry so much? Because unlike it seems like my stepdad in that period just felt like, I don't know what story he had in his head, but for me, when I see, if I was going to get cut off on the road, I'm able to tell a story that says that there was a mistake. I'm able to tell a story that the person, there's something going on. And as long, okay, we avoided a crash. Like we're moving forward, that we're good. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm able to tell a story that says there's no value in going over to give them the finger. And there's no value in that extra transaction. Um, the things that do get me angry as I focus on it. See what I'm saying? Like things get people angry, and I still don't understand it. You know, I'll say very quickly, yo. I don't know if people are paying attention to um, this like social media spat between Young Miami and India Ari, the new Young Miami song, supposedly the track of the summer. It's talking about scamming and other illegal activity, and India Ari has publicly stated that she doesn't like the song. She thinks that the message of the song is harmful, and she asks us to be mindful of our words. And she said it very, very kindly, I think on Twitter or on her Instagram or something. And the response from different people, there's been a lot of chatter about this, but like I saw recently footage from what's his name? Oh man, Trick Daddy. Footage from Trick Daddy, yo. Where Trick Daddy just goes off on Indiari, cursing, calling her old bitch, and I listen to these old bitches, and talking about things like, I don't, this is why I don't fuck you hoes, and don't let nobody tell you about stopping to getting the money. Tell that bitch these bitches need to be quiet. Speaking directly about and to India Ari, and I'm like, what is that about? What is this anger? You got to see it, because the way I'm saying it is nothing compared to the anger and the vitriol that's spewing, the venom that Trick Daddy has for India Ari, who makes this like really basic, obvious, simple, loving statement, truthful statement about the Black community, about music, about words, aspirations, identity, beautiful and valuable contributions. And this queen has to get shouted down and screamed at angrily. And so stuff like that, this is the kinds of expressions of anger that I think I grew up around. And it never made sense to me. And it always, to me, it was the kind of thing that I rejected it. And I said, I want to be less connected to that. And particularly for things like that. This is one of the things when I look at that video, I say, and he shoots the video and then hits submit it, and it's in the internet and goes, and like, no, it seems like a shameless display that makes no sense to me, right? And I go, what are the things that actually do produce anger in me? And so I don't like abuse. I don't like deceit. You know, I'm not going to scream at India Ari angrily. I reserve that for the cable news companies, for instance, who abuse their power. I reserve that for people who aren't telling the truth and abusing power. I reserve that for Scott Jennings from CNN. Reserve that for Ben Shapiro, who started a propaganda company and made a ton of money off the backs of Black people, and off the backs of queer people, off the backs of minority groups, powerless, marginalized groups. That angers me, this kind of abuse. I like people to be who they say they are. I think it's deceitful to have a panel of people under the premise that we're all having a conversation to articulate reality. We're doing this journalism thing, but that Scott Jennings is paid to sit there to actually warp the conversation, right? That the conversation is they're actually trying to seek out demographics and get ratings and get clicks. And so even absurd, racist, xenophobic untruths, that perspective needs to be at the table also, because they want that demographic. They don't want to lose that demographic out to Fox News, for instance, right? And that millions of people have to receive that content in their homes because that's at play, right? So there's just like there's a whole I like transparency, and I dislike abuse. Deceit and abuse angers me, and that's where I put my anger. So it's like I don't understand those other expressions of aggressive threats of violence, you know, uh, abusive language, denigration, oppressive language over nothing, over nothing. And I think like that, like my familiarity with that at a young age made me reject something called anger. And it made me through life. It made me a good, kind person on one level, but also my my identity is strengthened when I acknowledge that anger is a part of me, that I get angry, and acknowledge that I have the capacity to do it, and capacity to do it my way from a place of strength and integrity. And I could, and it's all good. And from safety, knowledge of safety. The really interesting thing about it is we've been talking about identity, and we've been talking about the shedding of stories. The really interesting to notice is that I actually do engage with anger. I actually do, in my writings on my website at billybutton.com, in my videos like these, I incorporate the information that anger gives me. In my music, I convey anger, right? But I'll tell you what, it is for me, in my mind, that process is not smooth and clean and fully accepting. That process includes, or has included, this kind of trepidation, this kind of like second guess, this reminder to be calm, and this reminder to be careful. While some people fly off the handle and are quick to anger and are quick to the expressions and are happy to raise their voice and to say whatever comes out of their mouths at any moment. um I've had, I guess, a tighter set of boundaries about what is a appropriate way of acting, even in a shitty condition. Or what am I trying to say here? One of the things I'm trying to accept is that I do have it. I just I need to accept the story that I have it, instead of that feeling, that gut feeling, that, ooh, you know what I'm saying? Instead of that gut feeling, that careful, or the story that, the anger is something to be fearful of. To notice how I've expressed it in the past, to notice that that was what was needed, and that this moment is, and that whatever I do in the future will be what's needed. It will be appropriate because I am that kind of person. I am. That's powerful. That's powerful. It's a detachment from this other comparison that I've been making, the comparisons that have kept me small or kept me unwhole. The story that required me to be palatable and nice. That safety came from that. Now we're over that. I'm the full me. And there's a lot to be angry about. As I always say, there's a lot to be There's a lot to be grateful about. There's a lot to be happy about. I'm so grateful that I have that. I'm so grateful that I'm so abundant and rich in all of these things. And that abundance now has actually allowed me to double back and notice these little arenas, these little self-imposed blocks, and these stories about lack that aren't real. These stories about places that are off limits that aren't real. So I think everything that comes from this, everything that comes from the full self is stronger, better, more potent than from the half story. And that's where I'm at. Yeah, that's the message. Check out the rest of the YouTube channel. Check out these videos. Listen, let's talk about it. Let's get into the depths on authenticity and on what it means to be a full, healthy human. Um, we on that. I will see you tomorrow. I might continue more about this, but we'll see. See you tomorrow. It's how Billy sees it. I see the God in you, by the way, and I wish you the best on your journey. Peace.